Hey.
What's up?
It's us. Okay, so we're back with the actual last episode of season 3 this time, we promise.
Yeah, we've been really enjoying listening back to all the different episodes that we recorded for season 3. There were so many incredible guests. And we kind of wanted to put out a few highlights or some of the conversations that we wanted to listen to again.
You can kind of think of this as like your Gender Spiral season 3 starter pack. Mm-hmm. If you're like, oh my God, I love this podcast, you know, you can send this episode to that friend of yours who's been wanting to get into it, but doesn't really know where to start.
Yeah, and this, again, is just a few clips from this season. Like, there were so many amazing conversations that are left out of this episode. We just want to hook you and then have you go back, make sure you listen to all of them, because each person was, just truly incredible. But to recap this season, Babette and I were in 2 really different places in our life. My partner and I were expecting to have a baby. We were kind of nervous. It was a big change. I was going to be a trans parent. They wrote a TV show about me. And I was feeling very reflective and tender, to be honest. I was very hopeful.
Yeah, you were feeling really tender. You remember, like, the drop of a hat, you could just, like, start tearing up. That was so
insane. Absolutely insane.
No, it was sweet. And meanwhile, like, on the other end of things, I feel like I was spiraling about kind of not the end of the world, because like the world has ended many times for many people, but more so just like, I don't know, maybe the end of a possible future I had imagined for myself with the world the way it is. And like me definitely being like, I definitely don't want kids. It is unethical for me to have children. And with that, I kind of got into this idea of like bare survivalism. Like, not only am I not going to have kids, but how do I go and live my childless life in a commune in the woods? And I kind of wanted to learn some of like the practical skills that I would need to survive, like a catastrophic event and like, you know, the very practical things, like how the fuck do you start a generator? How do you do these things that are very kind of basic to like our survival that probably most of us don't really know how to do?
Totally. So we got some really incredible guests this season to answer some of our questions about where we were at. And here is just a montage of clips from those episodes.
Western society depends so much on biology, and there's literally nothing like confirmed in biology. Like, biology is unbound, right? It is constantly changing. It's constantly moving. But colonialism has convinced us that it's fixed, and it's not. Like, a lot of people don't like their parents. Like, just because you're blood related does not mean that there's going to be some instant connection. A lot of people don't like their siblings, and that's fine. Like, those are relationships. Those are different people. You cultivate those relationships or not, right? So you have an intention of cultivating that relationship. That child is absolutely going to relate to you as however it is as you want to be related to. And it's also scary because they begin to relate to people in lots of different ways because they're just literally sponges, you know, like sometimes they relate to folks in ways that we don't want them to relate to people, right? But they will absolutely relate to you as however you want to be seen. Regardless, it's that biology is just not, we rely too heavily on it. We give it way too much space.
Absolutely.
Totally. And it's what you mentioned, Ali, about queer and trans people. That's how we've had family and relationships since the beginning of the time. You know, it hasn't been, especially for Black queer people, a house ballroom. Like, those are families. You know what I'm saying? Those houses are just families. There are mothers, there are fathers, there are people who take care of you, and that's how you relate to them. That's my caretaker. That's my mentor.
People love to throw around like the commune idea, like let's go all like go to like a commune in the woods. But this person on TikTok was like, bitch, like none of us have any skills. None of us know how to make a campfire. You guys don't even wash your dishes. Like, I do think it's like thrown around a lot. And it's like, I think like, and I do it too. I'm like, you guys, let's go make a commune. But like, I think also like, having the skills necessary to do that, having the internal resources, like, you know, making sure you're not going to like crash out on somebody, that requires work. I think it just requires work. Like, are we really about it? Are y'all really
ready for that life?
Are we ready? Are we actually ready? And if not, like, let's work towards it.
One of the things I've grown like really, really passionate about is teaching people while they're on the land, like, I call it like off-grid skills, but like, yeah, like how to start a generator and add gasoline. Like, I didn't know how to do that a year ago. How to change the propane tank, like how to use the rainwater catchment system that's connected to the solar panels that won't work if you don't have both water knobs open. Like all of these like little things that, and it's crazy too, because it's like when we're out there and we're using electricity, it's the sun. It's just the sun. There's no utility bill. It's like, I'm still trying to like wrap my mind around like some of these technologies and like why they're so important and so kind of like worth the extra effort. And then another thing I will say, especially for people who are like interested in like land projects and sovereignty, whatever that means for you, is actually all of our events have a harm reduction team. And they typically like show up as people who are not only like teaching how to reverse an overdose or how to test drugs, but they're also like checking like really real social dynamics. If like I'm off my game, they'll come to me and be like, like,
wow,
get it together, babe. Like, yeah, it's very, it's yeah, just like a level of like community responsibility and accountability that I wish I would have seen and maybe like earlier iterations of the work that I've done, but it's added this like new model of like connection where we can talk about the hard things without there being sort of like any like blame or ego. Yeah, exactly.
Wow, that's so cool because I do feel like there's so much deprogramming that I think everyone needs to do. Even the most like, you know, starry-eyed, like, just like, oh, I'm going to go and live on the land and we're going to do this cooperatively. But we still have like Airbnb mindset where we like check in and everything's done and we don't have to care about. Yeah. And I think like just being like, no, you literally show up, but there's nothing. You have to turn you need to know which knobs go where and how to take care of each other. And it's going to be pouring rain and we have to figure this out together. And like, that just seems so much more healthy. And I don't know how much interaction I've had with that actual level of working together in collaboration.
Yeah.
Like people transition for all sorts of dumbass reasons, but also sometimes it just feels true in your body. And I kind of felt that way about making a baby, where I was like, oh, like I haven't felt, I think I called it like non-cognitive understanding, right? It's like, oh, it's like, it feels like obvious to me that this is something I need to do. The thought of not being allowed to do this or not being physically capable of doing this makes me so sad to contemplate. And then like hypothetical grief is what's telling me that it's what I want.
Interesting. Yeah.
You know, it's hard to say I want a baby when you're like a 28-year-old dude. But it's easy to feel, oh, if somebody said, hey, in order to, you know, change your gender marker, you'd have to get a hysterectomy. How would that make you feel? And I'd be like, oh, that would make me feel incredibly bad. Like a sense of like real like tragedy as opposed to just like inconvenience. Like, oh, interesting.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's why I was like, I kind of need to go to the doctor to see if this is possible so that I can like intentionally try to shut down this part of my brain if it's not possible.
Wow.
Because it got like distracting that my body was like, hey, think about this, think about it, which is not that different from like scrolling through Tumblr and being like, what if you're a boy? 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 And I was like, I know this feeling. I know this kind of intrusive thought. It means you need to follow this feeling or else it's not going to get quieter. It's going to get louder and louder. So
wow.
I just had like a biological fucking thing happen to me when I was 28 years old. And then I had a baby when I was 34.
Wow. I've never heard anybody say that, but I love that answer because I think I'm so in my head about it where I'm just like, it's the right thing to do. It's the wrong thing to do. It's so unethical. It's yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, I love how you just described like, just like this like bodily knowing and just like needing to kind of, just like pursue it and see like what happens type of thing.
Yeah. I think that it's not logical. It makes no sense to have a child. actually.
In America?
In this economy?
In this economy? Son in America?
No,
I need to shut this down.
No,
Right.
it's really doesn't make any sense. And I think that like a lot of things we do don't make any sense. And I think it's like useful to like allow for the category of like a non-logical decision. Because if we all had to justify our reproductive choices, right, like we would have a really different world. And it's not a world I want to live in where everybody has to be like, this is why I wanted to have a child or fall in love or like transition or whatever.
Wow.
So I've just decided there's a category of illogic that is permitted.
I think the initial moment of learning that our child was a boy was actually disconcerting to me. And I had a string of responses that came out of who knows what, early childhood, relations to my brother, like fear, like anxiety. I mean, I had a string of, nearly kind of hallucinatory responses to the initial. But, you don't actually know this creature at that moment. You're just like, gender.
Yes.
And, gender is the kind of thing that freaks people out. It's like you say boy, and it's like, duh, like all these things start coming out, like huge metonymic chains of anxiety, fear, wish, memory, all kinds of stuff. So, I got through that pretty quickly, especially once the kid comes into the world. Then it's like, the minute I had bodily contact with this creature and I started to form my relationship to him and connect with him and care for him, and his very being was at the center of my concern and love. I mean,
I'm going to start crying.
You see what's phantasmatic. But the thing is, you do have to teach your kid about gender.
Right.
It's like you do, because, it's like saying, I don't believe in race. It's not the exact analogy, of course. But no, this is a gendered world, and they're going to have to negotiate their way.
It's material.
So just pretending like there is none or it doesn't matter, that's not helpful.
Totally.
That's like lack of preparation. That is lack of preparation. So there are ways to accompany, to talk about those things. And we did. We had a joyful, funny way of talking about gender. And he still jokes with me, or he finds something I say, and says to me, that's a little bit homophobic, don't you think? Or, like, calls me out. Like, it's all good. It's all good. But, there are new kinds of boys and men being produced in this world now.
Yeah.
My kid, he's 30, but I see the cohort that he hangs with, and it's like, look at the decency and creativity among these people. I don't remember that from my childhood, and I also don't remember it from even 20 years ago. So there have been some like crucial changes, and you'll see it changes you. And you get to see like how much of your own cultural and psychic stuff gets kind of shaken up. It's a good undoing.
I did fly into Tulum, and then we drove really far down, and then we took a boat out, but the trash was washing up from other parts of Mexico.
Totally.
Like, we were in this little town for a bit, and then we went out to this island, and the trash, it wasn't their trash.
Whoa.
It probably wasn't the trash of this like tiny town.
Totally.
But we would be in the middle of nowhere. Like we would be like on a boat, truly just in the middle of nowhere, and you would see like a prescription bottle go by, and you're just like, yeah, everything's polluted. And I think it really affected my even ability to eat, because you're just kind of like, what's even in the water? I couldn't really, it was hard. I had a lot of environmental grief. I mean, that was like the biggest thing for me, where I was kind of like, what's the point of surviving if there's nothing left to survive on or with? Like it really fucked me up actually for a while when I got back.
Yeah, that's really crazy. There's something about like the prepper mentality, or not even prepper, but just kind of like homesteading or like return to self-sustaining that is like really attractive to me. But yeah, there is like this other side of it where you want like environmental progress with that as well. Because then it's like, oh, it's just going to be me and the land. Well, then, yeah, let's talk about the land. Like, what's going on?
Which is probably an argument for why more of us should do it, right? Because we're really divorced from the actual logistics of being alive, even though we tend to our homes, we tend to our lives. But in terms of like our waterways or like our foodways, like we don't really see them. And I think if people did have access, then we would be a bit more radicalized and a bit more politicized around it. I mean, that's definitely how I came away feeling.
I want to be clear first that I do not think personal finance can solve capitalism. There is no like budgeting our way out of oppression or using the stock market to overthrow the stock market. Like it's just like when I say I teach personal finance through an anti-capitalist lens, I'm like, I want people to learn how the games are played as designed and to start getting creative about how we can move creatively through and around those rules. To me, probably the biggest component of it is the individual versus collective mindset. Capitalism and white supremacy, because you can't pull those two things apart. They're inherently kind of the same thing. Capitalism and white supremacy have such a focus on individualism, and like it is only supposed to be like you or like you and your family of origin and your kids, like as the ones that do finance. But especially when I'm trying to serve the queer community broadly, I'm like, we need to start thinking about money and debt and credit scores as tools that we can share with each other. And so instead of feeling like wealth is going to stay in the families that already have it, or like clearly the system has been designed for the rich to get richer and the poor to get poorer, especially in the last 50 years since Reagan, I want to be thinking about how do we use these tools created and enforced by the state in a way that cares about collective or cares about each other instead of just individual and like keeping and growing as much money as possible. I used to do the work mostly one-on-one, but again, when I want everyone to think and operate more communally about money, and when I want us to break the taboo of like how hard it is to talk about money, like how many times have we been at queer parties and everybody's talking so openly about their sex lives, but like no one will say anything about their financial situation.
Right. Totally. Yeah.
Or ask for help financially. So now almost all of my work is done in group settings because I want people to get that little bit of like almost exposure therapy and like little bit of practice of like talking about money with other people. I also think it helps break down some of the shame that so many of my clients have about like decisions they've made or about not having information or about, you know, just money really brings up a lot of shame for a lot of folks. I am teaching first like the emotional and relational side of money. Most of what I'm doing is just trying to retrain what people have had forced down their throats about how we think about budgeting and what it takes to like be a good or responsible adult. Then we also talk about like, what kind of mutual aid are we setting up to care for each other when we're older? I don't know if the stock market's going to exist in 30 years as the climate collapses. Like,
oh my God.
I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely.
So sorry, that's terrifying for me to have to say, but I don't want to hide from it and like pretend it's not happening. So,
and it's like that. It's like this foolproof, safe place to like put your money for a long period of time. Totally.
It's not. There's no guarantees of anything with climate change and rising fascism. So yeah, I want you to understand what a Roth IRA is and for you to make informed decisions about it. But let's also talk about what it takes to prepare skills, knowledge, relationships that we can take care of each other regardless of what situation we're living in.
Can you talk a little bit more about this kind of like looming specter of gender variant folks and how it like functions in the conservative right worldwide?
Well, I mean, let me say this, that at the time I was writing the book, Who's Afraid of Gender, I was interested in kind of rising fascism or rising authoritarianism. And I was trying to put that together in a hasty way, suggesting there were fascist passions that were helping to establish authoritarian regimes. And most of those regimes, or almost all of them, are pro-heteronormative family and were against gay and lesbian parenting or against changing gender status, against trans people having children, forming families, being able to have legal rights or having rights to appropriate health care trans kids or gender nonconforming kids or gender disoriented kids like me, trying to find counseling or trying to get some basic medications to, address their issues. I mean, all of these issues were really crucial. And, something very peculiar happened, which was those of us who were part of, I think it's fair to say, liberation struggles, like, we want to be free to live without fear. We want to be free to live with good healthcare. We want to be free to cross the border without somebody stopping us for racist or homophobic or transphobic reasons. We want to be free to live, to have children and not to have children as we need to, as is right for our lives, right? So we were all about freedom in some ways, or at least in our own mind, but we got recast as the censors and as the totalitarians who are going to take the kids of conservative families and teach them how to be gay or teach them how to be trans or insist that they become trans or demand that they have certain political viewpoints, which they have to rehearse verbatim in order to pass some kind of political litmus test. So we became the embodiment of censorship and totalitarianism. But then once they were able to accomplish that at the ideological level, the right then became authoritarian, which is different, but authoritarian in the sense that it started to amass state power, especially state powers to restrict people's freedoms, to strip them of rights, to invoke state power to abduct and deport students on international visas, to criminalize Palestinian support as if all support for Palestinian lives or Palestinian freedoms is terrorism. So what we're actually seeing is the amassing of state power in a way that my book could not have foreseen. You see these really strong authoritarian figures who are just putting the opposition in jail or stripping people of rights or going against constitutional rights or shredding them, setting them aside, invoking state power, security, whatever, nationalism, to do what they please. But, for a power like that to take hold without a popular revolution, it has to persuade people that it's keeping them from certain kinds of harms. And the left is now spectralized or made into a kind of phantasm of harm, of control, of indoctrination, of pedophilia, right? I was so confused. Why would I be a pedophile again? On what basis?
Yeah.
And I presume that it's teaching children. I do think children should be taught about gender and be free to experiment and find their own way and not be hampered by people's judgments or pathologization. But if you take my point of view and you say this is doctrine and it's indoctrination, and if it's being taught in schools or universities, it's indoctrinating, converting, and seducing young people, then it is a form of doing harm to children. Of course, the terrible irony of that is that the worst thing you can do to children is deprive them of appropriate health care and a fucking good education. Right? In which they understand the complexity of human life and are able to find an informed way through it to decide how best to live and what to struggle for and what values to preserve. I mean, open inquiry.
Totally.
Okay, yes, there were 2 Judith Butler clips in there. Can you blame us? We are obsessed.
We simply can't get enough. When we first started talking about this season, I feel like the threads we were following we're opposites. It made us laugh how opposites we were. It was like, I'm having a baby, and you were like, meanwhile, I'm going off into the woods alone. It's super funny. But it felt kind of like I was this optimist and you were this pessimist. But that's not really what it was, but that was kind of what was making us laugh.
Yes.
But I think while talking to all these guests, those threads totally started to feel intertwined.
I mean, I think it's ultimately about finding ways to live in this current moment and finding ways to prepare ourselves, our families, and our communities. And like, at the end of the day, people aren't going to stop having kids. Like, we shouldn't stop having kids or anything like that. And at the same time, how can we prepare ourselves and our families? It's like these things are actually right up against each other. They're not really, polar opposites.
Totally.
And at least that's what I learned. It's like, actually, how can I be there for my friends who are going to have kids? And like, how can I be a good like auntie? And like, and I think at the end of the season, like things actually felt like very hopeful and like full of possibility rather than like maybe the more kind of like foreclosed and depressed way that things were feeling in the beginning.
I do think that talking to Cass so early in this season helped kick this off, because just talking about not needing a reason for your desire.
Exactly.
And not needing to like root your desire in like facts or, I mean, like it just being kind of like, it's a scary world to imagine where you can't just like have a desire that is like valid just for the fact that it came to you as a desire.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think for me, I realized like, oh, I just don't have that desire, but like that doesn't mean that people like shouldn't be allowed to.
Totally. You know what I'm interested in though? A lot of the conversations that we had were about like decentering the nuclear family and how to, like mutual aid, how do we look out for each other and stuff like that. And I think that's still the work for me. Once you have a kid, you're like, oh my gosh, we need to save enough money to like buy this kid clothes or whatever. And I think that is the moment that a lot of people I know kind of lose their...
Because it's so hard. Yeah.
Yeah. You have so much to focus on. It feels like everything comes all at once and you really have to take care of this kid. And how can you still do like volunteer work in your community or something like that? You're like, so spent. So I'm like, oh yeah, I do want to talk to more people about that specifically. Like, how do you maintain your presence in the community and finding new ways to kind of contribute if you're on 4 hours of sleep and all your clothes have spit up on them and your dogs are acting crazy because you haven't talked to them.
Like, you haven't talked to them? You haven't had to sit down with Clem in a couple months?
I haven't had to sit down with Clem, and she will come up and just punch the coffee out of my hand.
It's like, bitch, what do you think this is?
She's like,
I mean, I think that's kind of maybe my aversion, or like, I think my fear, this like deep-rooted fear I have of having kids, because my parents raised me in a beautiful, incredible way, but like they kind of gave like all of themselves to raising me. And I think they didn't have a village. And I think it is literally so hard to raise a child without a village. And I think that's what makes me scared. It makes me feel like I'm going to get like trapped or something. But I think like literally just like babysitters. And I mean, like, that's a privilege, right? To have like parents who are close, or to have, you know what I mean? Like those things. But I do think it's just like the village model. And then that's when all of the other things come into play too. Like, how are we as a village like self-sustaining? How are we contributing to each other? But yeah, I do think things get kind of scary when it's like just nuclear family.
You just get kind of like fiscally conservative. You know what I mean? It's just, you kind of like watch your friends and you're like, oh, that's how you're talking. But yeah, it's been cool to try to find these kind of like, you're saying, communal moments. Like there's a yoga class here in LA that's like, you're allowed to bring your infant to it, and you pretty much just make a nest out of like the blocks and blankets and just like pop your baby in there. But it's like Frankie was saying, it feels really nice because you can be like, oh, I'm going to the bathroom, can you watch? Like it's just very like everybody's eyes are on the room, and everybody's like a parent with like the same like anxieties. And so you don't feel so alone, like in your like, is my baby going to be okay?
Yes.
And also it's just like having like a standing play date with a friend where it's like, we're both going to show up to this park, put a blanket down and plop these two like larvae down, and they're going to wiggle and we get to talk. You know what I mean? Like making parenting a little bit less alone. Because we just got to the point where Frankie's back at work, I'm alone.
Wow.
We're trying to, figure out what that time looks like. And I'm just like, I need to fill this with seeing other people or I'm going to go insane.
Oh my God. Frankie's officially back at work. That's crazy.
Yeah, pretty crazy.
Wow.
Crazy for her.
Yeah.
Pumping in the break room.
Oh, yeah.
She sent me a picture and she was like, this is the most insane feeling.
It's actually crazy. We just need also more like child-friendly places or like spaces where it's okay to have children. Yes. I will say, I was on some flights this summer where children not keeping their hands to themselves is really tough for me. I had one girl who was like hitting my arm, pushing it every single time. Like I put my arm down and her mom didn't notice for like 7 hours. And it was just like really tough. And then like I was at a party where like a kind of sicky kid like kind of started grabbing me. Like that is really tough for me. And I don't know if that's something I have to like unpack or if that's just kind of like the parent needs to like be doing a little bit of a better job watching, but also I have empathy for that parent.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that? That is tough for me.
Well, now that I'm a parent, I'm like, the things that I expected my friends to be able to do when they first had a kid.
It's hard.
It's insane. It's impossible. And the things I thought were helpful, I was like, I'll come over and let's have dinner. And it will be at 7 p.m., which is absolutely the time your baby should be going to sleep. And you're going to have to be like setting a table and figuring out how to host me. Right. And I want to hold your baby and get a picture with them. You know, it's like, no, show up at 11 a.m., do a load of laundry.
Exactly.
Quietly hold the baby food, and figure out how to like, hold them for a while.
So
go on a walk. You know what I mean? Like,
yes.
This person is like fucking treading water.
Yeah.
So, like,
and that's, I am having that empathy, but it just made me realize I was like, oh, I'm so overstimulated by children.
No, totally. These like sticky hands touching you on a flight.
Oh,
yeah, hard.
My God.
That's really hard.
That's really tough. And maybe it's okay. Maybe I need to get over it. I don't know.
It doesn't have to be your truth. Also, this is so funny. I'm looking at it right now, but we're talking about you coming towards this side of things, the baby side. I also invested in an emergency radio that's solar powered.
Wait, I need one of those.
And has a flashlight.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. Oh, that's pretty bright.
Pretty damn bright.
No,
but yeah,
I need one of those.
It has all of this cool shit. It's like a phone charger. There's a crank on the back that I cannot figure out how to get loose. So it just will never be cranked.
That is so funny. No, I need one of those. Because we're going to... Girl, because when the apocalypse happens, we are not going to have our screens. And I need an emergency radio transmission. I need to know what's happening.
Really?
Do you have a go back? Oh, you probably do now because of the fires.
Because all the earthquakes. And also the fires. Yeah, totally. No, I have like my stuff all together from the fires. It's the 1 year anniversary.
Well, that's what I'm saying with like the end of the world thing. It's like the world kind of ended for y'all. It's not like the quote unquote, like, if we're talking about like the climate change kind of apocalypse, it's not going to, like, it's going to be like an asteroid, it's going to take us out. It's going to be like many apocalypses where people's lives
small ones where
over
the people
and over
in charge
again
don't take care of working people.
Exactly.
That's the apocalypse. The fire, hard, but like the reaction to it, I feel like that is the apocalypse, which is human on human violence, which is or human on human negligence. I don't know.
But you have a radio and you're getting your stuff together.
Now I have a radio. And it also gets like a very specific channel that I've never heard of called All Hazards Weather Radio.
Oh.
Where it will just, you leave that function on and it's quiet.
Yeah.
But it will come in with like an emergency broadcast if you need it in your area.
Wait, that's so kind of cool. I need to get in that level.
Yeah. Wow. Well,
such a ramble, but we needed that. We needed this.
We needed that.
Thank you all so much for sticking with us this season with all the rambles, all the tangents, everything. We hoped you enjoyed listening as much as we enjoyed making it. It's so much fun.
Totally. And these clips, once again, are just a drop in the bucket of what people had to say this season. I'm really, really proud of this season. I feel like this show has just been able to kind of like get better and better, which is such a cool feeling.
Like a fine wine.
Yeah, so check out our full season at your local wine store.
Wait, sorry. Gender Spiral wine would be so
disgusting.
It would be a funky orange.
Oh yeah,
It'd be the funkiest orange.
It would be a challenging noble rot.
Why can't we be fun and digestible?
But by challenging, I guess I mean funk. Yeah.
Yes, I do like a funky orange.
Yeah, me too.
Ooh,
Give me a funky orange.
Okay, if there's any like wine producers out there who want to collaborate with us to make a wine, I would love that.
I would love to stomp some grapes live one day. That's been a dream of mine.
I would love that. We'll be having more bonus content coming out on the Patreon during our break. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any of that. And we are already working on season 4. So new episodes will hopefully be rolling out very soon.
Yes, and if you have any thoughts you want to share with us about season 3 or ideas for who you want to hear from in future seasons, you can leave us a voicemail or email us at genderspiralpodcast@gmail.com, or just comment on our Instagram or DM us or something like that. We'd love to hear from you.
Bye, cutie.
Bye, cutie.
See you next season.
Gender Spiral is an original podcast from Audiation. This episode was mixed by Matt Noble. Theme music is composed by Chanel Kirchlow, remixed by Daria Lord. Additional music by Command Jasmine, courtesy of Molten Hart, with art by Joey Hahn and graphics by Michael Tyrone Delaney.
The show is executive produced by Ireland Meacham, myself, Babette Thomas, and my co-host Ali Beardsley, along with Sandy Smullins, with some additional story editing from Susie Armitage.
If you want to help us out, you can rate or review us wherever you're listening to us right now, and follow us on Instagram at Gender Spiral to get notified about new episodes.
And be sure to support us on Patreon at patreon.com/genderspiralpodcast.
You can also check us out at genderspiralpod.com, where you'll find transcripts for each episode and a link to leave us a voicemail. And you can shop our merch store.
Audiation.